I'm going to read something that might seem a little depressing at first, but it's not really. Apparently, on our skin there are little animals. If you look under a microscope, they look like buffalo when they eat the dead skin cells. And to them, our skin is like the vast continent of Africa. And I don't think they have any conception of that they're on a human being, and they probably get upset when we have a shower, like, what the hell is that? But the time scales are different, um, which is a lecture I want to do, but I don't think I can do it on here without visual aids. It'll be based on the concept that time is breath, all very mystical. Human being has so many breaths in a day. It turns out that all levels of the cosmos, if you go up from man to planets to galaxies or down to cells or molecules or one-celled animals, that the number of breaths in a lifetime is the same. All lifetimes are the same length on the scale that you find the being. And it's possible to switch scales. You can spend a lifetime as a one-celled animal and enjoy all the problems of a one-celled animal, and you'll live for about 70 years. I mean, you can be a planet and live for what seems to us like a long time, but it's just a lifetime. There are relationships. I'll just guess at this because I don't have it here. Say the circle of 1 year of the Earth around the Sun is a breath for the Sun. That happens in one circle of the Earth, and you add up the number of breaths a human has in a day, which I don't know the number, but that'll be a day for the Sun, which would be probably the age. Maybe it's 25,000 years, but for example. So here's a little treatise on why it's worth working on yourself, and why this mechanical theory that we're going to ascend just because we're crossing the galactic plane is not true. Somebody asked at a meeting, how should evolution be understood? The evolution of man, replied Gurdjieff, can be taken as the development of in him of those powers and possibilities which never develop by themselves, that is, mechanically. Only this kind of development, only this kind of growth marks the real evolution of man. There is and there can be no other kind of evolution whatever. We have before us man at the present moment of his development. Nature has made him such as he is, and in large masses, so far as we can see, such he will remain. Changes likely to violate the general requirements of nature can only take place in separate units. In order to understand the law of man's evolution, it is necessary to grasp that, beyond a certain point, this evolution is not at all necessary. That is to say, it is not necessary for nature at a given moment in its own development. To speak more precisely, the evolution of mankind corresponds to the evolution of the planets. But the evolution of the planets proceeds for us in an infinitely prolonged cycles of time. Throughout the stretch of time that human thought can embrace, no essential changes can take place in the life of the planets, and consequently no essential changes can take place in the life of mankind. Humanity neither progresses nor evolves. What seems to us to be progress or evolution is a partial modification which can be immediately counterbalanced by a corresponding modification in an opposite direction. Humanity, like the rest of organic life, exists on Earth for the needs and purposes of the Earth, and it is exactly as it should be for the Earth's requirements at the present time. Only thought as theoretical and as far removed from fact as modern European thought could have conceived the evolution of man to be possible apart from surrounding nature, or have regarded the evolution of man as a gradual conquest of nature. This is quite impossible. In living, in dying, in evolving, in degenerating, man equally serves the purposes of nature, or rather, nature makes equal use though perhaps for different purposes, of the products of both evolution and degeneration. And at the same time, humanity as a whole can never escape from nature, for even in struggling against nature, man acts in conformity with her purposes. The evolution of large masses of humanity is opposed to nature's purposes. The evolution of a certain small percentage may be in accord with nature's purposes. Man contains within him the possibility of evolution, but the evolution of humanity as a whole, that is, the development of these possibilities in all men, or in most of them, or even in a large number of them, is not necessary for the purposes of the earth or of the planetary world in general, and it might be in fact be injurious or fatal. There exist therefore special forces of a planetary character which oppose the evolution of large masses of humanity and keep it at the level it ought to be. For instance, the evolution of humanity beyond a certain point, or to speak more correctly, above a certain percentage, would be fatal for the moon. The moon at present feeds on organic life, on humanity. Humanity is a part of organic life. That means that humanity is food for the moon. If all men were to become too intelligent, they would not want to be eaten by the moon. But at the same time, possibilities of evolution exist, and they may be developed in separate individuals with the help of appropriate knowledge and methods. Such development can take place only in the interest of the man himself, against, so to speak, the interests and forces of the planetary world. The man must understand this. His evolution is necessary only to himself. No one else is interested in it, and no one is obliged or intends to help him. On the contrary, the forces which oppose the evolution of large masses of humanity also oppose the evolution of individual men. A man must outwit them, and one man can outwit them. Humanity cannot. You will understand later on that these obstacles are very useful to a man. If they did not exist, they would have to be created intentionally, because it is by overcoming obstacles that man develops those qualities that he needs. That is probably something that's taught in the Illuminati schools, and this is a justification for them not inviting us to their company picnic, because there's no hope. This is the basis of the correct view of human evolution. There is no compulsory mechanical evolution. Evolution is the result of conscious struggle. Nature does not need this evolution. It does not want it and struggles against it. Evolution can be necessary only to man himself when he realizes his position, realizes the possibility of changing this position, realizes that he has powers that he does not use, riches that he does not see, and in the sense of gaining possession of these powers and riches, evolution is possible. But if all men, or most of them, realize this and desire to obtain what belongs to them by right of birth, evolution would again become impossible. What is possible for the individual man is impossible for the masses. So, I imagine this material is revealed little by little, maybe in the levels 0 to 33 of the Masons, for example. If you told somebody this was possible, he realizes the hopelessness of life on Earth, and that you are the way out, so you can feed him a little bit of this and get him to do stuff for you. The advantage of the separate individual is that he is very small, and that in the economy of nature it makes no difference whether there is one mechanical man more or less. We can easily understand this correlation of magnitudes if we imagine the correlation between a microscopic cell and our own body. The presence or absence of one cell will change nothing in the life of the body. We cannot be conscious of it, and it can have no influence on the life and function of the organism.